Why don't you tell me a story? Please tell me a story, too.
You know, I think I'll tell you the story of my life.
You tell me. I want to hear, too.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve. You might remember me from being on the radio, or just you're a friend of mine watching this because you knew me and you know me, and here I am. And, you know, in this time of recordation, you need to relax, to settle your nerves, and nothing is as relaxing like lounge music. You know, the very thought of lounge music conjures up sitting back with a drink, letting the smooth sounds come out of your speakers. But there's more to lounge music than relaxing. There is appropriation of other styles, there's unusual choices of song and instrumentation, and there is a canon. There are some classic albums, you know, and if you go through like a thrift store or a record store that has a lounge music section, you'll find all kinds of titles, some of them brilliant, some of them mediocre, and you will only know from listening. But I pulled, I think, 25, 26 albums out of my collection. Some of them are like the acknowledged classics, canon, whatever. Some of them are a little more obscure. But I'm just going to get right into, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. I'm just going to get right into this. And I'm going to start with not only one of the most common lounge music records, but also kind of one of the most revered. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Whipped cream and other delights. I mean, look at that. Look at that. If you look really close, you'll see that it's kind of a sheet here. She's not literally covered with whipped cream, just kind of on the top here. And yeah, so Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass is kind of a faux mariachi pop music kind of thing. Herb Alpert being the A of A&M Records, run by Herb Alpert and Jerry Moss. And it's just a fun record. It's the sound of the 60s. I mean, they used a Herb Alpert song for the dating game theme. And this was probably his biggest seller in the 60s. He made a comeback around 1980 with the song Rise, which is another classic for another video conversation. But yeah, another one of the pillars of lounge music is the composer, arranger, band leader Les Baxter. He's done a lot of soundtracks, a lot of stuff, but he wrote the song Quiet Village, which was Martin Denny's big hit. We'll get to Martin Denny in a little bit. But this record is very cool. Les Baxter's original Quiet Village, for the original version of Quiet Village, and for some pretty hilarious liner notes, which you'll have to find this record yourself. And Exotica is a branch of lounge music, which is, you know, in the 50s, Hawaii had just become a state. Tiki bars were all the rage. And it all kind of started with Martin Denny and Arthur Lyman and branched out. But this is Stanley Black, I believe, was English. And this album, Exotic Percussion, it's like a very smooth, well-produced Exotica record. A lot of stuff bouncing back and forth between the stereo channels. And one of my favorite versions of Miserlou, you know, which was done by Dick Dale in the movie Pulp Fiction. And yeah, Another Phase 4 stereo record that is pretty cool is this Foreign Film Festival by Frank Chaxfield and his orchestra. Mainly because this really sick version of the good, the bad, and the ugly theme. Just totally sped up and in your face take on Ennio Morricone. So while we're talking about Exotica, of course we got to talk about Martin Denny. The sounds of Martin Denny, Exotica. And I've talked about this album before. This was the one that really started it. You know, he was, you know, supposedly according to the legend, Martin Denny's group was playing in a lounge type bar in Hawaii, and there were like frogs and birds and noises of the creatures on the island, and the band started playing along to them, and that's kind of where Exotica music was born. And I have 2 copies of this, and I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about this again. The original mono version of Martin Denny's Exotica was recorded in 1957 and was only released in mono until 2 years later, in 1959, Denny actually took the band back in the studio, re-recorded all the songs in stereo for the stereo version of the album. So this is actually 2 different albums, 2 different takes of the same songs, different people in the band on the stereo version. So you talk about differences between mono and stereo and the Beatles and blah blah blah. This is the real deal, of significant difference between mono and stereo. Another branch of lounge music is the Moog synthesizer music, with artists such as Jean-Jacques Perry, Gershon Kingsley, and Mort Garson. And this is an album by Mort Garson called Electronic Hair Pieces. And it is indeed songs from the musical Hair played on the Moog. And great versions of Aquarius and Walking in Space, Let the Sunshine In. But yeah, get it? See what they did there? Electronic Hair Pieces. Okay. Another major lounge music artist would be Ferrante and Teicher. Ferrante and Teicher were 2 Juilliard-trained piano players. They formed a duo, and some of their records are Exotica, some of their records are, you know, covers of contemporary songs. But there's 2 records they did on Westminster. I'm going to show you just this one. It's called Soundproof, where they're experimenting with prepared piano and studio effects. And this is in the 50s. So this kind of verges on psychedelics, some of the effects and recording techniques they used. It's the sound of tomorrow, today. Years ago, I was at a fellow record collector's house, and we were listening to records and having some salad with devil's lettuce in it. And he was saying, hey, you know Martin Denny, you know all this lounge music. I think you're ready to hear the good stuff. And he puts on an artist that I've never heard before, Esquivel, the Mexican band leader. And his stuff was crazy. It was very dynamic, lots of just jumping out of the speakers, and crazy background singers, and Esquivel himself, brilliant piano player, besides being a band leader. And this is part of RCA Victor's stereo action series, The Sound Your Eyes Can Follow. And again, this was another technological breakthrough, you know? It's like, stereo? 2 speakers? What's next? Color TV? Wow, what a crazy world of progress. But stereo action was the beginning of the capability of having sounds pan back and forth between the 2 stereo channels instead of just sitting hard left, hard right, or in the middle. And there's a bunch of these stereo action records. They have these kind of sleeves like this, and this is one of Esquivel's best albums, and this is like an essential lounge music staple. Latin-esque by Esquivel. All right. While we're still on, this one's a little more obscure, but while we're still on the use of unusual sounds, this is Zounds, What Sounds by Dean Elliott and his swinging big band. And I will read from the liner notes of this. On a recent fine spring afternoon, Dean Elliott was driving to his home in the Los Angeles suburb of Woodland Hills, California. Stopped momentarily for a stoplight. He heard a cement mixer off to his right and began to snap his fingers in time to its sound. This, he thought, has a terrific beat. How would it go with the melody? So there are sound effects incorporated into the big band music. And yeah, funky, groovy 50s vibes here. This is a fun one. See, the band is like they're posing on the cement mixer. I don't know if these chicks are really in the band or not, but you gotta put chicks on the cover to sell a record, baby. And while we're on that, jumping ahead in time to the 70s. This is Moody by The Gentle Rain. And this is what I talked about choice of songs making the lounge music record interesting. And this has got some studio musicians that you'd find on a lot of those English library records, like Alan Hawkshaw, Clive Hicks, Brian Bennett, the great Kenny Wheeler on flugelhorn, doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Family Affair, Across the Universe. This is a nice one for your fondue party. All right. A man of many, many talents, actor, comedian, cop chasing down Jerry Reed, Jackie Gleason, also a band leader. He put out some records of jazz and lounge music, and this one, Music to Remember Her. Just this bonkers cover with these severed heads of these ladies. But like the Family Guy skit, it's all songs with girls' names. Louise, Tangerine, Charmaine. Yeah. And it's kind of somewhere between romantic 50s make-out music and Medication Time in the Cuckoo's Nest. But every Jackie Gleason record is a little different. There's jazzy ones and there's super relaxing ones.
Fens underbara spö har svarta trollet tagit. Svarta trollet satt och skrockade elakt i sin hemliga håla. Nu skulle ingen någonsin kunna ta tillbaka hans trollspö. Nu såg trollet på sin tv-skärm hur den stora festballongen som hängt över byn i sin vajer plötsligt gav sig av mot sjön. sångkorgen satt Per och Mäster Eriksson. Hokus pokus filiokus, sa trollet genast. För han hade supermoderna demoniska grejer mot tro. Han drog i en hemlig spak och vips öppnades en lucka i berget. Upp ur luckan kom en förfärlig raket som trollet kunde styra som han ville. Fantastiskt! Full träff!
Oh yeah, that's just fine. Come on, boys. Just one more time.
This is one you might not have heard of, but you probably heard because it's been sampled a lot. It's been sampled a lot. This is the Hellers. And this is some weird reissue that might be a bootleg because this is kind of collectible. And the Hellers were in advertising. They made commercials. But they made this record of lounge music called Singers, Talkers, Players, Swingers, and Doers. And besides the music, there are also kind of spoken skits that weave in and out of the songs. And the one that you might have heard sampled is the one where it's the father talking with his children and going, I want to tell you the story of my life. There's a song called It's 74 in San Francisco that I always play on hot days when I'm having a drink. And there's a skit about a baseball that's pretty funny. But yeah, this is a fun record. It's like, is it a comedy record? Is it a lounge music record? It's in a weird place in between. The Holly Ridge Strings do the Beatles songbook. And this came out right in the early 60s. It's kind of some groovy strings and big band versions of all these Beatles songs. And I also had the Beach Boys one, but this was the most popular one. And this, I think this is kind of one of the cornerstone, you know, one of the first like covers of rock songs, loungeified, that was really popular. Back to Moog synthesizers. Dick Hyman, the eclectic electric Dick Hyman with Moog. And this is also one that you've heard sampled, like beep 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 boo 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 boo. Some great tracks that border on experimentalism, like The Legend of Johnny Pott, Topless Dancers of Corfu, The Moog and Me, and this long track in the beginning, The Minotaur. This is one of the basic starter kit records for an example of the Moog synthesizer. All right. This one, I'm just, because I mentioned that Beatles one. This one, I'm a Believer and Other Monkeys hits by the Living Strings. And RCA Camden, which was like their kind of blue label, budget label, had a lot of living stuff. Living voices, living brass, living jazz. But the version of I'm Not Your Stepping Stone on this record just has to be heard to be believed. I actually played it at a party where I was DJing back in the 90s, and I got everybody dancing to it. All right, so back to Exotica. Arthur Lyman was the Vide player in Martin Denny's band. And when Martin Denny got famous and went to Hollywood, Arthur Lyman stayed in Hawaii, made a bunch of albums that he recorded underneath the Henry J. Kaiser geodesic dome. Taboo being the first one. But I want to show you Taboo Volume 2. Because all of the Arthur Lyman records, or most of the Arthur Lyman records, have these pictures of volcanoes and lava, you know, to fit with the Hawaiian theme. But Taboo Volume 2 had two different covers. Because I think the original cover with the shrunken heads was maybe a little too much for the 50s consumers. Or maybe this mono copy had this cover and the stereo one had this cover. I don't know. Do you know? Let me know in the comments. But anyway, yeah. Sleeve face. This next one, the song was a big hit. And this was like my favorite song when I was like 5 years old. And you see this record all the time. And this is, again, one of the main staple starter kit lounge music records. With the painted hippie chick, Blooming Hits by Paul Moriat and his orchestra. And he was French. And his big hit, Love is Blue, written by Andre Pop, also French. And I thought this was kind of unusual because it's on the Philips Red label. And every other copy I've seen of this has been with the Philips Black label. But yeah, whatever. But just classic, relaxing lounge music. Orchestrations, great versions of This Is My Song by Charlie Chaplin, Penny Lane, There's a Kind of Hush. Love is Blue is an awesome song, I maintain, to this day. This next one goes into the interesting choice of songs, and this is more 70s, and this is John Morell, his guitar and orchestra with voices, instrumental hit sounds, and kind of hippie looking guy, but super mellow record. And just for the choice of songs, because he does Old Man by Neil Young, he does Rocket Man. You know, this is kind of like contemporary easy rock lounge music. He does Where's the Love, Morning is Broken. Just the fact that there is a lounge music version of a Neil Young song in the universe makes this record a keeper. All right, back to the Moog synthesizer. This is another essential one. Now, the Beastie Boys ripped off this whole graphic for their record with the same title, The In Sound from Way Out. But this is Jean-Jacques Perry and Gershon Kingsley. Perry and Kingsley, electronic duo. And it's got Moog synthesizers and tape loops. Really catchy little songs, all just a couple minutes long. Like The Little Man from Mars, just total earworm. Brilliant stuff. I was talking earlier about music with sound effects, and really the pioneers of that is the Mystic Moods Orchestra. And this is the first album. This is the one you see the most. One stormy night. Whoever you are, you hold in your heart the memory of one stormy night. And it means what it is. It's easy listening music with storm sound effects throughout. This is unusual because this is an audiophile reissue on the Bainbridge label. Usually they're on Philips or the reissues are on Warner Brothers. But yeah, this was a cool thrift store find. This next one I actually bought on eBay once I learned that it existed. Most of my records I dig for. I hardly ever buy record online unless I need it and don't have time to fuck around. But this is Doc Severinsen. Doc Severinsen from The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson, band leader. He made a few albums. This album is called Doc Severinsen's Closet. And I need some cool jackets like this, though they probably won't fit my belly. Arranged and produced by Don Sebeski. And why was this record so important? Why did I need this record so bad? He covers the Court of the Crimson King on this thing. But you know, not every lounge music record is relaxing. Some of them are kind of brash. Like Music to Break Any Mood by Dick Shorey's new percussion ensemble on the RCA label. And a lot of times they're just trying to push the limits of the recording technology, trying to see how big of a band they can record, how complex of an arrangement they can give a pop song and have it still be cohesive, you know. Gotta sell these sound systems. Long story short, there's a lot of these records you're gonna want to buy just for the cover. And this is one of them. And this is another one. Music to Moog by Gershon Kingsley of Perry and Kingsley. Look close at those flowers. They're nipples. But this record has a track Hey Hey, which was sampled by RJD2, and it also has the original version of Popcorn that was done by a bunch of artists. The version by Hot Butter was the big hit version, but the original version of Popcorn is on this. So it's good to keep abreast of these things. All right, I got two more, and just because I really like this Time Records label. I mean, there's always something interesting about these. And this is Jim Tyler Pinpoint Percussion. And there's some really great xylophone playing on the title track. A lot of technical notes about whatever. But yeah. Time. Anything with percussion in the title is probably cool. Because that's the other branch of lounge music. Percussion. Persuasive percussion. Pinpoint percussion. Okay. This last one I'm just going to show you because this is kind of cool. And it's a test pressing of a compilation called Swingin' Cheese. And it is what it says on the label. It's cheese and it's swinging. It's got like Light My Fire by Woody Herman, Where is the Love by Ray Conniff. Just real cheesy renditions here. But yeah, it's cool because I did not see a test pressing listed on Discogs, and I found this. I think it's Italian import on this Irma label. Anyway, I wish you all relaxation and peace. If you're new here, welcome. Check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you all next week. Peace. Stop. 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 Stop.
You know, I probably shouldn't have to tell you this, but like this video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And if you're new here, watch some of Steve's other videos, because they're probably a lot better than this one, and you haven't seen them yet. And yeah, leave a comment. Any kind of comment. Well, be nice, be cool, don't be a jerk. But comments, you know, that makes Steve, comments will give Steve some dopamine, and he'll get over his imposter syndrome and keep making these videos.